Hello! If you're new here, hi, I'm Genevieve. If you're not new here, you came back. Yeah! So I pretty much had everything planned out for this week's video. It's gonna be fantastic. Then I decided, you know what? I want your guys' input. I want to know what you want to watch. And you know, I just wanted everyone to be more involved in my videos and things like that, because obviously you guys are the audience. So, you know, I wanted this to be a two-way street. Give me what you wish for it. So I ran a couple polls on Instagram. If you don't follow me, it's just I am Genevieve on Instagram as well, but with two little dots in between. Just, you know. And I ran whether you guys wanted to see me become a fairy this week or become a super cute, super trendy mushroom. You can tell which one I was kind of planning and going for. I left that up for 24 hours and guess which one won? Don't worry. We'll just put a pin in that one for later. It's not like I had all the plans ready to go. No, but in all seriousness though, I actually really am excited for this idea. Like, that's obviously why I put it up. I just hope I'd have a little bit more time to prepare it because, you know, I'm a busy lady. But, you know, it's cool. You can build an entire fairy costume, including wings and, you know, all in 20 hours, right?
No.
Well, we're about to find out. If you're seeing this title as part 1, part 2 will be linked up here. If you're not seeing this list at part 1, part 2, either here or there is just one of my other videos that I'm sure you'll enjoy because I'm alright. Self-promo, nice. Right, but enough rambling anyway. You know we're doing the fairy costume today. Let's get into it because she's gonna be a long one. So unlike last week's video, which was funny, but not necessarily successful, I actually want this idea to, you know, work. So I had to come up with a plan. By doing that, I started by staring at Pinterest for an insane amount of time, picking ideas from here, there, even some from over here, and just pretty much everywhere, until I was able to draw until I was able to draw up an actual final plan, which I will insert here by going and grabbing the book. I just smacked myself in the head with that. Well, no, it's actually really hard to see, but that's basically all you need to know. I want a nice big puffy skirt. I'm gonna try and make like a little bralette top moment, and then wings, obviously. Funny enough, I was actually gonna go without the wings, but then I was like, I'm a fairy. Also, speaking of, do you like my nice planning modeling book? It's got all these bunch of models and things like that. Because, you know, fun fact, when I was younger, I actually wanted to be a fashion designer, but I couldn't sew. So, you know, dream dead. But now I'm back, and I'm here, and I still can't sew, so. But you know, we're trying our best, so. Point being, once you know what you're gonna make, you need the stuff to make it. So you need to gather your materials. We have
elastic and fabric and wire and fabric and flowers and glitter and glue.
oh, and pattern paper. That was fun. So, obviously, first, gotta start on the pattern. And while you could still use the method of just sticking a bunch of A4 bits of paper together to, you know, make one big sheet of paper, I ain't got time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
So I went out and bought a big roll of brown paper. Hopefully, I also have enough floor space. Hey, remember when I cleaned this like literally last week? Good times. Because I'm gonna be using this really sheer, what do you call it, organza, chiffon, silk, whatever. Purely because I realized I don't have enough of that fabric there. That's literally just a giant sheet of fabric, but I'm not going to cut out my backdrop for a dress because I already did that. And then I realized I needed my backdrop, and that's why I have a white backdrop instead of a black one. Which also means I'm going to have to cut multiple layers of this stuff because basically I'm going to make an underneath, stick all the flowers to the underneath, and then put a layer on top to kind of give it like a bit more of a muted tone. Well, why am I talking like I know what I'm on about? Basically, I'm going to layer a skirt. So I think I watched about 8 different tutorials, and I think I got it now. You have to do a little bit of math, which I know, I'm sorry. I don't want to do it either, but here is how to figure out the waist. I want my skirt to sit about there, which is kind of like the most in part of my waist, which is 74 centimeters. Also, side note, Americans, can you stop working in inches, please? Do you know how many videos I have to go through where everyone's working in inches? What is 6/8 of an inch? Just give me centimeters, please. Anyway, write down your measurement. So first, 72 centimeters was my waist measurement. And we are going to be using half of my waist measurement. 16 centimeters is also the radius value. So the formula we're going to use is half of your waist measurement times 10, which will give you an answer. Then we're going to take that answer and divide it by our radius, which is 16 centimeters, which will give you your final answer. For example, Half my waist is 36 centimeters, times by 10 makes 360. 360 divided by our radius, which is 16 centimeters, gives me 22.5 centimeters. And that 22 centimeters is going to be this distance here, all around there. You're also going to take away 2 centimeters for a seam allowance. Yes, take away, not add on, because if you're holding your tape measure here, if you add it on, you're going to make your skirt shorter. But if you take it away, you're adding more. Do we understand? Okay, have I still got you with me after that? I beg, please. That's as simple as I can make it. Just to confuse you a little bit further, I've folded this in half. Purely because it's just a little short. Okay, so once I open this up again, it'll be a half circle. Okay, just trust me on this. If you remember, my personal measurement ended up being 20.5 centimeters because seam allowance. We're taking 20.5 and we're putting it on the corner. I really should probably actually move you closer. Let's bring it closer. 0.5, mark it. Rotate to the right angle, 20.5, same again. And then you can just continue marking it around there, but again, I'm lazy. So I'm just gonna get a piece of string, hold it there, and zoop. So, BRB. Awesome. So now we have our line. And because I want the skirt to be as long as possible because I'm a tall girl, I'm just gonna take this long measurement because this is as long as it will get this way. So that measurement is 60.1 centimeters. And I'm gonna take it this way and we have our skirt length. So now I'm gonna cut it out. Skirt. Oh my lord, this is gonna be a short skirt. But it is very fairy. So now we're gonna copy this onto the fabric. Get your fabric, fold it in half. Lay your pattern on the fabric. Where you have a fold, you place a fold. Get it? Leave a 1 centimeter gap on top. This is your seam allowance. If you don't do it, it's gonna be too small. So now that I've pinned everything down, I've actually added 10 centimeters to the skirt because like I said, I'm a tall girl and obviously I can make these adjustments before I cut it. So now, cut out your fabric and repeat this step as many times as layers that you want. Side note, if you are not sewing on a fold anymore because your pattern doesn't fit right up against this corner like I am here, how you did a seam allowance here, you also need to put over here because now you don't have that fold, so you need to put another seam in because otherwise you're going to have 2 bits of fabric. So anywhere that you need to sew, add a seam allowance. Got it? Get it? Good. Sweet. And once you have cut out your desired amount of pieces, it's time to sew. For these side edges, you're just going to sew straight along there with the right sides of the fabric together. For your bottoms, you're going to fold your fabric like that. You know, seam allowances. So you're going to fold that seam down and stitch along there. And same for your top. And for the back seam, you're going to sew right sides together and sew all the way up. I've chosen to close mine off with a zip, which I've pinned in here like that to give you a bit of a better view. So this is still the wrong sides of the fabric, so I've pinned it to the insides. I will sew this up just along there, stop there, and then sew that side, turn it inside out. If you have an overlocker, fantastic, use that, but I assume if you have an overlocker, you're probably not coming to me to learn how to make a skirt. Use a straight stitch first to mark everything out, and then follow that by a zigzag stitch to avoid fraying. Or if you're lazy and only want to go over it once, use a stitch like this one here on number 15. Skirt. Okay, and now from this, we're gonna take all of our flowers and just arrange them, hot glue them, etc, etc. It's getting late on day 2, so we're speeding through this. Also on the top, underneath this layer, we're gonna spray the alcohol inks all over that again. Cool? Sick? Nice. And this is our final outfit besides the wings. I think it looks pretty nice. Welcome back to the past. Hopefully whatever you just saw, that mess down there, is finished now. We're gonna move on to the top, and I think I have a way to make it super simple but super yes. Okay, for this I don't have any instructions for you really. I don't have any. There is a string right in front of the camera. Nice. I don't have any measurements. I just found this bit of fabric that's stretchy, and this is what we're gonna do with it. So it is about as wide as my torso to underarms, and I'm just gonna cut it in half. I'm super tired, can you tell? So yes, we need this to become this. Was that clean? Was that a clean transition? And now we're gonna dye it because I'm extra and wanted to give myself more work apparently. These are the colors of my flowers, kind of like pinks and yellows and things like that. So that is the color dyes that I will be using to dye the fabric, which are these, if you saw them sitting in the corner. They are alcohol dyes that I made. If you want to know how I made them, I will put that into another video because content. So as you can probably tell, these are going to be like our top bits, you know, like the strap, sleeves, things, whatever. I want this to still to be like mostly white. I'm only going to dye it a little bit. You know what? I'm just going to transition it because this video is already long enough. So, you know, yeah, something like that. Looks kind of weird in this lighting, but I'm sure it'll get better. Now for the body bit, that's gonna go around like, you know, around like that. Really as long and as thick as you want it. I want quite a thick waistband, so I've made it thick. I've made it that long because I want it to be able to tie in the back and then, you know, just kind of like chill a little bit. However long you want it, however thick you want it, just make sure it's a long rectangle. Pin it in half like I have here, and you're gonna sew all the way around it, including this fold. If you do not sew this fold, it'll just be like floppy. You want to give it some structure, okay? So sew the fold, sew that side, sew around there, leave one side open so you can flip it inside out. Then once you've flipped it inside out, you're gonna fold this edge over and sew that. And then you have your rectangle. Okay, and hello, welcome back to the future. Last we left off, we just made this strip of fabric, which is going to be our waistband. So this has now been turned inside out and both ends have been sewn. So because I want this to, again, stay like pretty white, I'm going to dye the ends of this one instead. So I'm going to leave the middle part quite white and I'm going to dye the ends until eventually it looks like this. You know, it's very, very, very subtle. And then while that's drying, we're going to sew some pleats into the top like this. I had to do one before so I could actually show you what to do. So using a sort of zigzaggy cross stitch is how I sewed along the bottom. And then when I got to the first pleat, instead of just sewing the bottom and then having to come back to the pleats, I just pivoted the needle and then started going upwards with the straight stitch. Then turned around, came back, continued, etc., until we ended up with this. Then once it's dry, I took that chest piece and I folded it in half and marked it with this blue pin. Then simply just attach the straps. And so you have the finished very top with these nice little bits that'll hang out. Okay, and finally it's time to move on to the wings. So I took my massive bit of fabric and I folded it in half. Obviously this is the easiest way to make sure that your wings are going to be symmetrical. Then I just marked out what I thought would be a good shape for the wings and cut it out. Be super careful when you're cutting out your wings because I'm working on an industrial carpet, so if I put some marks in it, get some colour on it, it doesn't really matter. Whereas if you're working on your bedroom floor or on your mum's carpet, you know, you want to be a bit careful, okay? When you're cutting out the wings, make sure to leave like a 2-inch gap at the very, very top because that's where we're going to thread the wire through. Everywhere else, you can just cut it out as you marked it, but make sure you leave that gap. Once you've cut it out, you can choose to sew down that loop to thread the wire through, but because I knew I was going to be putting glitter and all sorts of stuff all over it, I used liquid stitch because I know I'm going to be leaving it down to dry for a bit. If you don't know what liquid stitch is, it's pretty much like a PVA glue for fabrics. And I just put it all along there and then pinned it down into the carpet and also topped it with glitter. I just started doodling all over the wings and whatever pattern I wanted. It's all up to you. It's whatever design you want. I put glitter, I put vivid, I put highlights, and then I also sprayed the outside with the alcohol inks like I did with everything else. And now we've ended up with these. And then I bent the wire into a giant U shape and then also added some support wire in the middle, which I will then cover with fabric, but just to show you like this. So giant U shape and then thread them through into the wings. And you end up with something like this. You can also bend your wings into whatever shape, but because I might actually be wearing this out, I've kind of bent them together just so they don't end up poking people in the eye. And this be our final look. I'm wearing a thermal as well because it's cold as hell and I'm about to go into public. So y'all better appreciate this because I'm going outside. But yeah, we have the wings, we have the skirt, we have the top, and we're looking cute as hell. I actually hate going into public in character, so I'm a little stressed. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay, we're good. Guys, it was actually a really good venture. I was stressing a lot in the beginning because attention. But there were so many cute kids and they all asked to get pictures with the fairy, which was super sweet. But that's pretty much, this is the makeup that I wore today, but part 2 will be more, I don't want to say adult themed because it's not going to be like adult themed, but more like a grown-up fairy. So I'm going to have a different wig, different makeup, and I'm not going to wear this undershirt. It was just, I was going outside today and I was freezing, and kids. So stay tuned for part 2. That'll be linked above here, and I will see you guys in that video. Peace. Just for anyone who was wondering, this is what my makeup looked like tonight. I've got some little swirlies and some white freckles and some white eyeliner. Solid.